Hi! Welcome back to our fourth installment on child and adolescent development. So, our topic for today will be focusing on children's self-concept and identity formation. So, let's start. First, what is self-concept? So, this is how someone thinks about, evaluates, or perceives himself. So, basically, ito yung pananaw natin sa ating sarili. Also, this includes definitions and images that one associates with his or her being, which differentiates him or her from other people. Kasama dito yung sex, age, height, personality, likes, and dislikes. So basically, lahat ng nabanggit ay parte ng self-concept na tinatawag. So we have 6 specific domains related to self-concept. Meron tayong social, competence, affect, physical, academic, and family. So, what are these 6 nga ba na specific domains na tinatawag? So, first, we have social. Ito yung ability natin to interact with other people. Ayan, kung paano ka makihalubilo, kung paano ka makisama. So, that is social. Next, we have competence. Ito naman yung ability to meet basic needs, yung ating basic necessities para mabuhay. Kaya ba nating mag-provide ng food, ng water, ng shelter for ourselves on our own? So, that's competence. Next is affect. So, ito naman yung awareness of emotional states natin. Basically, pwede natin siyang ihambing sa emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. Next, we have physical. So, these are the feelings about physical condition and overall appearance. Fifth is academic. So, this refers to the success or failure na nararanasan natin sa school. And last, we have family. So, this refers naman to how well does one function within a family unit. Alright? So, now we move on to the development of self-concept. So, ang self-concept ay nade-develop simula pagkapanganak. It also begins with how adults respond to children. So, halimbawa, ang parents and caregivers, nakaka-create sila ng positive emotional bond with infants through warm and caring interaction with lots of eye contact and touch. Okay? So, halimbawa, diba kapag bata pa or bagong panganak, usually, anong ginagawa sa mga babies na ito? Kinakadel, hinehele, diba? Ayan. So, they are able to form a positive emotional bond with the people who do that to them, which promotes children's healthy self-concept. Ito din ang nagsiserve as the basis of children's future relationships sa ibang tao. Also, the ability of children to interact successfully with their environment promotes a healthy and positive self-concept. So, ito ay nag-empower sa kanila to feel competent, to try new things, and to strive for success. Also, tatandaan natin, it is the parents' first and foremost responsibility to help build the children's positive self-concept. Kasi sabi nga, family is the basic unit of society. So, syempre, ang development of positive self-concept should begin at home with the parents. Okay? So, ano ba ang difference ng isang batang with a positive self-concept sa isang batang may negative self-concept? So, punta muna tayo sa positive. So, a person with positive self-concept has a can-do attitude. Yung mga, yes, we can, kaya ko tong gawin kahit hindi ko pa alam kung paano ko sisimulan. So, positive na agad yung kanyang mindset. Also, confident sila sa ability nila to complete task with minimal or no help. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin na ayaw nilang humingi ng tulong. Ang gusto lang nating sabihin dito or gusto nating i-describe dito is that they strive to be independent. Okay? Also, hindi rin sila nag-exhibit ng problematic behaviors. Yung mga halimbawa, parang nagre-rebelding teenager, ganyan. So, a person with positive self-concept does not exhibit those types of ugali, okay, or behavior. So now we move on to negative self-concept. Ito ay opposite lang naman ng person with positive self-concept. So basically, meron siyang can't-do attitude. Kumbaga, hindi mo pa nasisimulan, hindi mo pa naman nasusubukan, iniisip mo na agad, ay, hindi ko kaya. Okay? So, kumbaga parang negative na agad yung mindset niya. Also, he or she easily gets frustrated. Pag halimbawa hindi mo na-achieve yung iyong goal, para kang pinagbagsakan ng langit at lupa. Ayan, diba? So, meron pa siyang kapartner. Easily frustrated siya kapag hindi niya na-achieve yon, pero madali naman siyang mag-give up on difficult tasks. So, diba? Hindi magandang combination. Okay? And also, he or she may exhibit behavior problems na nabanggit niya kanina. So, the development of self involves two main steps. Okay? Meron tayong sense of separateness or yung tinatawag nating existential self and an increasing sense of self-awareness or yung tinatawag na categorical self. So, don't worry, pag-usapan naman natin yan in the next few slides. So, ngayon pag-usapan muna natin yung existential self. Ito yung sense of being separate and distinct from others and awareness of the constancy of self or yung pagiging constant. Ayan. So, in this stage, children realize that they exist as a separate entity from others. Kumbaga, separate kang individual from other people. You don't have to be part of a group to belong. Okay? Kasi ikaw ay isang individual that is unique. Right? And that they continue to exist over time and space. Awareness of this existential self begins as young as 2 to 3 months old, diba? Bata pa. And arises in part due to the relation the child has with the world. So, halimbawa, diba, pag bata, kapag sila ay ngumiti sa isang tao at ninitian din sila nito. So, nade-develop yung kanilang positive self-concept kasi parang, uy, ninitian din ako. So, parang it's a positive feedback, diba? So, kung halimbawa, nag-touch din siya ng mobile, yung mga umiikot na toys, diba? At nakita niyang gumalaw, it is also a positive self-concept din yun. Na-develop din yung kanyang positive self-concept kasi may natututunan siya. Alright? So, next we have the categorical self. So, ito naman is yung after having realized na tayo, na nag-exist as separate experiencing beings, they become aware naman of being objects in the world. Okay? So, just as other objects, kasama na din ang mga tao, have properties that can be experienced, so the child is also becoming aware of themselves as objects which can be experienced and which has properties. Dito na yung nakakapag-identify sila in different categories such as age, gender, size, or skill. Okay? So, yung mga sinasabi nating properties that can be experienced, ito yung mga big, small, smooth, red, etc. Okay? So, yun yung mga halimbawa ng properties na sinasabi dito. So, ngayon pumunta naman tayo sa components of self-concept. So, meron tayong tatlo. Okay? So, meron tayong self-image, self-esteem or self-worth, and yung ideal self natin. So, una muna is yung ating self-image or yung pananaw natin sa ating sarili. So, itong self-image na to, this doesn't necessarily have to reflect reality. So, kumbaga halimbawa, in terms of physical appearance, ang paningin natin sa sarili natin is napakapangit. Okay, halimbawa, it doesn't necessarily have to reflect reality. Baka lang kasi, yun yung pananaw natin sa sarili natin. It's how we see ourselves, okay? Not necessarily yun yung pagkakakita or pagkakakilala sa atin ng ibang tao. So, this can be influenced or shaped by many factors. Halimbawa is yung parental influences, media, and many more. So, under self-image, meron tayong tinatawag na 20 Statements Test or TST kung tawagin. So, this is widely used in cross-cultural psychology to elicit descriptions of self-concept through free-format responses. Ito ay list of answers to the question, who am I? Or sino ba ako? Ito ay pwedeng i-categorize into 4 types of responses. So, number 1, physical description. So, who am I? Ako ay payat. Ako ay mataba. Ako ay katamtaman lamang. Ayan. Okay? So, next is social roles. Ito yung mga roles natin sa society. Are you a housewife? Are you an office worker? Are you a student? Ayan. So, basically, what is your role in society? Yun yung ating social roles na tinatawag. Then, next is personal traits. Ito naman yung mga self-descriptions used to identify ourselves. Halimbawa, I am independent or I am sentimental. Mga ganyan. And fourth is existential statements. Ito yung mga abstract, okay? Pwede siyang mag-range sa sagot na, I am a child of the universe. Pwede din namang, I am a human being, as simple as that. Or pwede din namang, I am a spiritual being. So, medyo mataas na ang spiritual level ng mga taong sumasagot ng huli, okay? So, based sa 20 statements test, ito ay nagsasabi or nagpapakita ng results na young people typically define or describe themselves more in terms of personal traits. So, kumbaga, they define themselves, I am independent, I am a strong independent woman, ayan, or I am a strong independent man, mga ganyan. While older people naman feel defined to a greater extent by their social roles. Kumbaga, parang dito sa older people, jobs define kung sino tayo, while younger people are defined by how they see themselves. Alright? So now we move to the second component of self-concept, which is self-esteem or self-worth. Ang ating pagpapahalaga sa ating sarili. And so this refers to the extent to which an individual accepts or approves of his or herself. Kung ano yung value na binibigay mo sa sarili mo. That is self-esteem or yung self-worth nga na tinatawag. So, it is important to note that this varies from culture to culture. Kasi yung iba, nagfo-focus more on sa individual. Okay? While others focus on the collective or sa group. So, halimbawa, sa community. Ayan. Also, we can define this self-worth as feeling capable while also feeling loved. So we have 4 major factors that influence self-esteem. Meron tayong reactions of others. So, syempre, kung ano yung magiging feedback ng ibang tao pag nakita nila to or pag nalaman nila itong bagay na to about myself. Next is comparison with others. Hindi natin maalis yan. It is part of human nature that we compare ourselves to other people. But we have to remember, syempre, iba-iba yung pinagdadaanan natin. We do not know what each of us is going through, so hindi natin dapat i-compare ang ating mga sarili sa ibang tao as much as possible. Next is social roles. Some carry prestige. Ito yung mga paghalimbawa, tinanong ka, ano yung trabaho mo? At sinagot mo is ganito. Parang ang iniisip or parang paningin ng tao sa'yo is, uy, mataas na tao to, parang ganon. Okay? While some carry stigma. So, parang pag nalaman ng ibang tao na ito yung work mo or this is your line of work, ganyan, parang medyo iba din yung dating sa kanila. So, one thing that we have to realize dito is that despite the stereotyping of society sa ating mga trabaho, ayan, or social roles na tinatawag, hindi natin dapat i-define ang ating sarili sa ganong bagay, okay? Kasi, sabi nga, bawat trabaho ay marangal. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na this makes you less of a person dahil, ay, ito lang yung trabaho ko. Kumbaga parang, in terms of societal standards, I lack, okay, as a person. Hindi yun ganon. We should not think that way. And we should not be that way din sa ibang tao. Kasi again, lahat ng trabaho ay marangal. Okay, tatandaan natin yan. And number 4, we have identification. So, this is the extent to which we identify with other people's roles and become part of our personality. Halimbawa, we identify with the positions we occupy or the roles we play and groups we belong to. Parang nagiging parte na yun ng personality natin. We accept it as part of ourselves and parang it defines us na sa ating paningin. Okay? And number 3, or yung ating third component of self-concept is the ideal self. So this is the individual's perception of what or who he'd like to be. Okay, ano ba yung gusto mong maging? Ito yung dream self mo, ideal self nga. There is an intimate relationship between self-image, ideal self, and self-esteem. So ito ay mini-measure using the Q-sort method. So, ang Q-sort method na ito is a self-assessment procedure for measuring congruence. Pag sinabi natin congruence, this is a state of internal consistency which Carl Rogers saw as important to healthy personality growth. Okay? So, now we move on to the states of internal consistency. So, meron tayong congruence and incongruence. So, congruence exists when a person's ideal self and actual experience or yung kanyang self-image are consistent or very similar. Kumbaga, yung pananaw mo sa sarili mo at yung gusto mong marating is almost the same, okay? Or kumbaga, you are getting there. But we have to remember, of course, that a total state of congruence is very rare. Yung ibig sabihin, ito yung gusto mong maging. Nandito ka din. Okay? Yung actual state of being mo is nandun din sa ideal state mo. That is very rare or possible na hindi siya talaga mangyayari. Kasi, again, no one's perfect. Okay? Also, development of congruence is dependent on unconditional positive regard. Ibig sabihin, kailangan support talaga sa individual. Hindi pwedeng parang may hahad lang or parang susubok na mag-bring down sa'yo, whether it be emotional state mo or in others. Isa pa nating dapat tandaan is that for a person to achieve self-actualization, they must be in a state of congruence. Ito yung sinabi ni Carl Rogers. Alright? So now, ano naman yung incongruence? Siyempre, ito yung opposite of congruence. So, this exists naman when a person's ideal self and self-image are not consistent. We have to remember na lahat naman ng tao experience a certain amount of incongruence. Kasi again, hindi naman ideal ang state ng ating mundo. And hindi naman tayo perfecto that we can achieve what we want to in the time frame that we set. Okay? Madaming factors to consider. So, it is perfectly normal if we experience a certain amount of incongruence. Alright? So now, punta naman tayo sa factors that influence children's self-concept. So to a considerable degree, children's sense of self is based on their previous successes or failures. However, meron ding ibang tao na nagpe-play ng role dito sa kanilang self-concept development. Ano-ano yung mga factors that influence their self-concept? So, first and foremost is the child's family. Yung kanyang parents, yung kanyang siblings. How is he or she treated dito sa basic unit of society na ito? Are they supportive of him or her? Or parang lagi ba siyang kinokontra sa mga gusto niyang gawin? Next, we have peers. So, according to Aspen Educational Group, ang peers daw ang may pinaka-malaking influence sa self-concept ng isang bata. This has the greatest impact on adolescent behavior. Siyempre kasi, sila yung lagi nating nakakasama during our adolescent years. Okay? More than our family, we spend more time with our friends or peers. Next is our community. Yung ating community kung saan tayo nakatira, kung saan tayo nabubuhay. So, fourth is school. So, this influence through attitudes they foster toward competition and diversity. So, halimbawa, do they encourage healthy competition or baka naman unhealthy yung competition na ini-encourage nila? So, halimbawa, do they encourage you to compete with other people or do they encourage you to compete with yourself? Kasi magkaiba yan. When you compete with others, yeah, that's a good thing. Pero, motivation mo to improve yourselves is external. Okay? Whereas kung they encourage competition within oneself, ibig sabihin nun, kahit walang ibang tao, you want to be better eh. 'Di ba? Gusto mo maging mas mabuting tao, mas magaling dahil sa sarili mo. Okay? Yun yung importante doon. Also, Kasama na din dito yung recognition ng achievement in terms of academics, sports, and arts. So, fifth, we have age. So, self-esteem tends to grow steadily until middle school. Ayan. So, afterwards, it can continue to grow or pwedeng mag-decrease. Sixth, we have gender. So, girls are more susceptible to low self-esteem due to increased social pressure. Usually kasi pag babae ka, you are taught the stigma na appearance is preferred more than intelligence or athletic ability. Parang, kumbaga, ang gusto nilang sabihin is, kung hindi ka maganda, you will not succeed in life. Which is not a good thing, okay? Kasi again, looks are not everything. Maganda ka nga, pangit naman na ugali mo, diba? So, that's what we have to remember. Seventh, we have the socioeconomic status. Do you come from a low-income family, middle-class family, rich family? Ayan, so nakaka-apekto yan sa self-concept ng mga bata. And last, we have body image. So, I'm sure lahat naman tayo aware of body image stereotypes, okay? Kumbaga, pag medyo hindi ka fit sa standards ng society, medyo prone ka sa bullying, and medyo nakakababa rin ito ng self-esteem. So, it is important na mabalance din ng ibang factors para hindi naman bumulsok ang self-esteem or self-concept ng isang bata. So again, we have to remember what we need is support. Constant support from the people around them. Okay? So now we move on naman sa ating second part, which is identity and identity formation. So una muna, let's define identity. So this is the process of finding one's true self. Sino ba talaga ako? Okay? So madaming beses na yan nabanggit dito sa ating module. Sino ba ako? Who am I? Ayan. So, it is also the individual's combination of behaviors, preferences, thoughts, talents, and beliefs. So, components of identity include sense of personal continuity and sense of uniqueness from other people. So, aside sa pagkakaroon natin ng personal nating identity, people also acquire a social identity na tinatawag. So, ito ay based on one's memberships in various groups. Pwedeng familial, ethnic, occupational, and so on. So, this basically satisfies the need for affiliation, and it helps people define themselves in the eyes of both others and themselves. Kasi syempre yung ibang groups na sinasalihan ng ibang tao, it offers them some sort of prestige, okay? Kaya sila sumasali doon. But not all, syempre. Also, ang main goal ng identity formation is for an individual to develop a clear sense of self. So, syempre, as we grow, kailangan madiscover natin kung sino ba talaga tayo. Who are we in this society? Who am I as an individual? Ano ba ang purpose ko dito? Okay? So, meron din tayong theories on identity formation. So, meron tayong tatlong i-discuss today, and ito yung mga yon. We have Erickson's view of identity formation, James Marshall's 4 statuses of identity, and Berzonsky's identity style inventory. Ayan. So, una muna, let's go to Erickson's view of identity formation or achievement. So, in his theory of psychological development, yung fifth stage, which pertains to adolescence, is described as the stage wherein adolescents must decide on their own identity. Ito yung may conflict na identity versus role confusion. So, ang adolescence is the stage wherein adolescents must decide on their own identity. Kung sino ba sila, saang direksyon ba papunta ang kanilang buhay, at kung ano ang kanilang respective strengths and weaknesses. Also, this is the stage of personality and role experimentation. Ito yung nag-experiment ang mga teenagers ng iba't ibang persona, so to speak, okay? Kumbaga, in terms of status ko, halimbawa, sa high school, do I fit better with a tough guy personality? Or mas bagay kaya sa akin ang medyo laid back? Okay? Yung mga ganyan. So, dito sa view ni Erickson on identity formation, sinasabi that identity is a product of the individual's experience over the first 4 stages of development. Ito din ang adaptation of the individual's special skills, capacities, and strengths sa society. Also, it is dependent on social structural allowances for the person's initiative, time perspective, and coordination of personal goals. Ito din ay dynamic process in which the usefulness of role experimentation is gauged, and a subjective process in which the person feels cohesiveness with society when it is there. So now we move on to the second theory. Ito naman ay James Marshall's 4 statuses of identity. So James Marshall used the term identity status to label and describe 4 unique developmental identity stations or points. So identity status represents a particular configuration of youth's progress with regard to identity exploration and commitment to the values, beliefs, and goals that contribute to identity. So, meron tayong 3 assumptions. Una, Marshall's theory does not assume that every adolescent will pass through and experience all 4 identity statuses. So, itong 4 na to, hindi lahat yan ay madadaanan ng bawat bata. Pwedeng mag-skip siya or pwedeng daanan niya lahat. It can be either or. Second, there is no assumption that a youth's identity status is uniform across all aspects of their development. Hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay iisa lang yung kanyang status. And lastly, Marshall's theory assumes that there is a multidirectional movement between and among the various identity statuses. So, meron din tayong term na identity crisis dito. So, this is a period of identity development during which an adolescent is choosing among meaningful alternatives on a single aspect of personality. So, ito na yung medyo napapaisip ng isang adolescent sa kanyang sarili ng mga ganito. Sino ba talaga ako? What kind of identity do I want for myself? Or how do I want others to see me as? Ayan. Also, adolescents re-examine old values and choices. Kumbaga nakakapag-isip-isip sila. Tama ba itong ginawa ko dati? What did I do wrong? What can I do to change it? Ayan. Basically, at the end of a stage, na-resolve na dapat yung identity crisis within oneself, therefore leading to a commitment to certain rules or values. Next, we have identity commitment. So, ito naman is yung the moment when adolescents show a personal investment in a personality component that is chosen. Kumbaga, kapag nakapag-decide na sila, what do I want to be? How do I want people to view me as? Magko-commit na siya doon. Hindi na yon mababago. Thus, on any particular personality component, the developing adolescent can be in any one of the 4 stages of development. And more importantly, each aspect of identity must be crisis-proven and committed to in order to be achieved. So, ano-ano ba yung 4 statuses of psychological identity development? So, meron tayong identity diffusion, identity foreclosure, identity moratorium, and identity achievement. So, we have to remember that these are not stages, therefore, hindi siya kailangang sequential or hindi kailangan magkakasunod. Again, as we have mentioned earlier, pwedeng hindi lahat ito ay daanan ng isang adolescent. So, first is the identity diffusion. So, this is defined by adolescents that have not yet experienced a crisis or made any commitments. Okay? Wala pa silang sense of having choices. So, this is also characterized by low level of exploration and low level of commitment. So, basically, hindi pa sila masyadong exposed sa totoong buhay. So, therefore, hindi din sila nakakapag-commit to a certain thing or decision. Okay? Next, we have identity foreclosure. So, ito naman ay adolescents that have made a commitment but have yet to experience a crisis. So, ibig sabihin, hindi pa siya nakaka-explore ng range of options and tend to conform to others' expectations regarding their future. Kumbaga, pag halimbawa, tinanong ka, anong kurso ang gusto mong kuhanin pag college ka? Ang possible na sagot ng nasa identity foreclosure status is BS Education kasi yun ang gusto ni mama eh. Basically, yun ang sagot mo hindi dahil yun ang gusto mo, kundi dahil that is what your parents expect from you. So, third status is identity moratorium na tinatawag. So, dito, adolescents are in the midst of crisis. So, commitments are either absent or are only vaguely defined. They explore various commitments and are ready to make choices, but are not yet committed to these choices. It is also characterized by high degree of exploration, but low level naman of commitment. So, basically, madami na silang na-explore na options, pero hindi pa sila nakakapag-commit pa. Hindi pa sila nakakapag-decide. And last but not the least, we have identity achievement. So, ito yung mga adolescents that have undergone a crisis and made a commitment to a sense of identity na napili nila. So, this is characterized naman by high degree of exploration and high degree din ng commitment. So, they are believed to have achieved their identity through a process of active exploration and strong commitment to a particular set of values, beliefs, and life goals that has emerged from this active exploration and examination. Okay? Yan. So, let's move on to the third theory on identity formation, which is Berzonsky's Identity Style Inventory. So, this offers a conceptualized social cognitive view of adolescent identity development, which focuses on how individuals process info when faced with relevant conflicts regarding identity development. So, meron tayong tinatawag na identity processing style. So, ito yung various processes that individuals can utilize para ma-clarify at ma-refine ang kanilang identity. Kasama dito yung kanilang goals, purpose, values, qualities, and interest. So, meron tayong tatlong processing styles na i-discuss today. We have informational, normative, and diffuse avoidant. So, first is informational. Ito yung mga individuals that actively seek out, process, and use self-relevant info when dealing with identity issues or forming commitments. They are willing to update their perception of themselves to reconcile contradictory feedback. Also, dinedefine nila ang kanilang sarili using their values and goals. Isa pa, they also possess cognitive complexity, adaptive regulation empathy, as well as values associated with openness, independence, and autonomy rather than security and tradition. So, often transcending selfish interests. So, yun ang informational processing style. So, next we have the normative. So, here naman, individuals conform to the expectation and prescriptions of significant others. They define themselves by their family, religion, ethnicity, as well as value security and tradition. Ina-adopt din nila yung goals and standards that other figures in their life promulgate. Although they may demonstrate a sense of purpose and ambition, they also experience a need for closure and limited tolerance for ambiguity or uncertainness. Kailangan ng mga taong may normative processing style ay certain, sigurado, hindi pwedeng yung medyo may baka sakali pa. And last but not the least, we have diffuse avoidant. So, these individuals deliberately avoid having to deal with personal conflicts and decisions. They attempt to divert their attention from any kind of conflict. So, their choices are also primarily governed by their immediate needs and imposed demands. Pwede rin sila mag-comply with the suggestions of others, pero madalang yung babaguhin talaga nila yung kanilang ugali over extended periods. These people also often experience an external loss of control and exhibit impulsive behavior, yung pabigla-bigla magdesisyon. And they primarily define themselves by their reputation, popularity, or other social attributes. One thing that we also need to take note here is that they also cherish hedonism. When we say hedonism, this is the doctrine that states that pleasure or happiness is the sole or chief good sa ating buhay. Kumbaga, ito lang yung maganda sa ating buhay. Yun yung hedonism. Apart from this, they also cherish power and other selfish values. So now we move on to our last topic for the day, which is forms of identity. So meron tayong ethnical and cultural identity, which is acquired because of ethnicity and cultural background. Syempre, kung saan ka nanggaling, if you came from this type of culture, syempre, madadala natin yan as part of our identity. Second is gender identity. So, ito yung cultural concepts of masculinity and femininity, which define or categorize a person. And last but not the least, we have sexual identity. So this is developed during adolescence as teen experiences puberty and sexual attraction. And that ends our fourth module for this child and adolescent development. Thank you very much for listening and have a great day ahead.